Thank you, Mr. Chair, and congratulations, Representative Stefanik, for the nomination. I really appreciated the meeting that we had in our office. You and I have some political differences, of course, but we talked that day about items on which we agree. We had some on which we disagreed, and we had a couple of others where you said your position is one that President Trump doesn't agree with. And I like that candor, and I like the fact that we had a good exchange. I'm grappling with that and some of the partisan comments you've made in the past. An article that I'd like to put in the record, National Public Radio article, How the Replacement Theory Went Mainstream on the Political Right from May of 2022. On Monday morning, Stefanik tweeted, Democrats desperately want wide open borders and mass amnesty for illegals, allowing them to vote. I'd like to put that in the record.
Without objection, it will be included.
Now, that was a campaign tweet, and I can separate campaign rhetoric from governing rhetoric. I don't view things like that as disqualifying. They do raise questions. But at least we had a good meeting. We talked about important issues and shared ideas. I'm going to say something here that I wish I could have said at an Armed Services Committee hearing, but we had it in closed session. All of the Trump nominees who come before the committees on which I sit have agreed to meet with me, save one. The Secretary of Defense nominee, Pete Hegseth. He's written that he thinks Democrats are evil. He's written that he thinks Democrats are the adversary. And he refused to meet with any Democrat on the Armed Services Committee, save the chairman. Save the chairman. Yesterday, in a closed hearing, we were asked to forward his nomination to the floor, even though it had not been pending to the committee for sufficient time. My colleagues asked, hey, why would we give a waiver to someone who wouldn't even agree to meet with us? That nominee would disrespect Democrats, okay, that's fine. But I didn't think my committee colleagues on the Armed Services Committee would have disrespected us. And I'll just say to all of my Republican colleagues here, if there is ever a nominee by any president who refuses to come meet with you when you're on the committee of jurisdiction overseeing that nominee, I will publicly raise hell on your behalf. Nominees should meet with the committees, just as Representative Stefanik did. And Representative Stefanik, while I have a question about some of the campaign rhetoric, I'm not going to ask you about it because that's in the past. I do appreciate the fact that you were courteous, informed, civil, and candid in the meeting with me. I told you I had two concerns, engagement and the Western Hemisphere. You've convinced me that you were nominated for this position not to disengage, but to engage, and I appreciate that. In fact, you wanted this position, and you wouldn't have wanted it otherwise, and that's great. On the Western Hemisphere, you're going to be working with the Secretary of State we approved unanimously yesterday, our colleague, Senator Rubio. Senator Rubio talked at some length about a number of topics on the Americas the other day, and I want to ask you about one that is particularly challenging right now, and that's Haiti. The situation in Haiti is a disaster. You know that. I mean, you've been on these committees overseeing American national security, and you know that issues like Haiti create immigration challenges and all kinds of other challenges that are bad on the humanitarian front and can cause problems for allies like the Dominican Republic and cause problems for us. We now have a security operation in Haiti being led by Kenyans with the assistance of other nations, with the financial support and assistance of the United States. Senator Rubio talked at some length here on last week about how important it was that we stay engaged on that. I'd like to know kind of what your thought would be, should you be confirmed at the UN, for what the U.S. can do to try to help Haitians find a next chapter that is a peaceful one.
Yes. Thank you, Senator Kaine. Appreciate the opportunity to sit down with you. I know we serve on the National Endowment for Democracy together, and there's been significant bipartisan results delivered through that program funded by Congress. I wanted to just point out I stand strongly for border security. And that was what the tweet you referenced was related to. And I would point out that in the sector that I represent, the Swanton sector, there was a Border Patrol officer killed in the last 24 hours.
Are there any Democratic senators that you think are for open border and mass amnesty for illegal undocumented
Well, I would point out that Democratic think tanks and rhetorics have talked about...
I'm asking about senators. Any Democratic senators you would level that charge against?
I think there are Democrat senators who have supported open borders. What I was doing is clarifying when you pointed out a headline from an article.
Not a headline, a quote of yours.
Which was related to border security, and we just had an overwhelming popular vote for President Trump. where border security was top of the mind.
Well,
so I do
my-
stand by my, I think it's important to note, I do stand by my rhetoric standing up for strong borders, and the American people overwhelmingly support that. Related to your question related to Haiti.
My time is over, so let me just conclude and say this. When I've been on this committee and in the Senate, I was part of a bipartisan deal that put $46 billion of border security on the table that the House Republican majority killed, and another deal that put $25 billion of border security on the table in 2018 that President Trump killed. And I was just part of a bipartisan deal in the last year that was significant about bipartisan border security on the border that President Trump killed. The notion that Democratic senators are for open borders and allowing illegal aliens to vote is a fantasy. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to meet with you. But now I have questions about if you'd fall for a fantasy. I'm going to have that to ponder that, and I yield back, Mr. Chair.
I do want to address that, Chairman Rich, if you give me
You
the latitude to do so. We are very proud that on the House side we passed H.R. 2, the most significant border security package that Chuck Schumer failed to bring up in the Senate. That would return to the effective policies of President Trump. And again, the American people voted loudly and clearly when it came to securing our borders and the failures of the past 4 years. I'm not going to apologize for my commitment to securing the border when I represent a significant part of the U.S. A major sector, the Swanton sector, where we've had a skyrocketing of illegals crossing there. On the issue of Haiti, which I think is important, and it is a bipartisan concern, obviously it's a humanitarian significant challenge in our hemisphere. Working with Secretary Rubio, we need to have a strategy. I'm deeply concerned. It is very complex. There is no simple solution. And that is an area where we need to continue to have discussions with the committees of oversight. I'm very concerned on the Intelligence Committee briefings I've received about the crisis in Haiti. So I look to work with Secretary Rubio to support his commitment to the Western Hemisphere, specifically the complexities of the humanitarian challenges within Haiti.